share a trial that I'm going through right now that is actually a blessing. So I'm completely out of my comfort zone. This is not something that I've ever done before. And I'm one of those people who can have it completely planned out what I want to say in my head, and as soon as I go to put it on paper or talk in front of people or on camera, it completely goes away and I can't remember anything, so bear with me. I also wasn't sure that I was going to do this because I'm certainly not looking for sympathy, but recently I had a friend who posted a trial that she was going through, and I was so glad that she did. She's not somebody that we communicate with on a daily basis, much like most of us, but she's still a dear friend, and I was thankful to know that she was okay and, you know, what she had gone through, because I had no idea. So that kind of solidified my thought as to this is something that I wanted to do. About 12 to 15 years ago, I started experiencing hearing loss and tinnitus, which is the ringing in the ears that never stops. And I went to an ENT in Washington State before we moved east, and he said, yeah, you've got hearing loss, but there was no damage to anything in my hearing, my eardrum, and there was no explanation for it. And so I just thought it was a part of life. There wasn't much that we could do. So I wasn't ready for hearing aids at that point, and so I just decided to live with it. Well, fast forward to 2021, and all along, for the past several years actually, I've not been able to hear people on my left side, and so if I had people walking next to me, I had to make sure they were on the right. Anybody sitting next to me, I had to make sure that they were on the right. And so I was at a conference, and I felt really bad and guilty that anybody that was on my left, I was basically having to nod and act like I knew what they were saying when really I had no idea. And so I just felt really guilty and bad. So I decided that when I got home, I was going to go see an ENT and look into getting a hearing aid. And so I went in, and the doctor, he confirmed that my hearing is almost completely gone on the left side. I can just, anything that I can hear is very low, muffled tones. And so nothing intelligible at all. And so he said, well, let's do an MRI. And I thought, well, you know, that's a little strange. This is just hearing loss. But I was like, okay, so let's do an MRI. About a week later, I go into his office to get the results, and he says that I have what is an acoustic neuroma, which is a benign tumor in the brain. Thankfully, I'm so blessed. It is benign, but it sits on the balance and acoustic nerves and very close to the facial nerve. And mine is 2.5 centimeters, a little over 2.5 centimeters, which is a medium large. And so because of this, I'm going to have to go through some procedures and follow-ups with the doctors. And so it's serious enough that we were able to get special permission for Sam to be stationed at Patrick Air Force Base, which is about an hour away from home, and over by Cocoa Beach. And so right now we are currently driving from Wyoming to Florida to move him home. And so that's a really good positive thing. It's also a blessing because it's not serious enough that it's a death sentence for me. And oddly, I kind of feel guilty. I know that I shouldn't, but I feel guilty that it's not worse than this, because a brain tumor to many people is more serious, and it can be a fatal for them. And of course, if I don't take care of it, mine could be fatal. But I feel guilty and I feel bad, and I know that I shouldn't, but I do. So because of this, because of Sam being able to be transferred home, I'm going to be able to be with my doctors for the next several years, to have my follow-up appointments. The kids are going to be able to stay where they're at. We're going to be able to stay in our home. I really have to look at this as a blessing, and I can't be mad, can't be disappointed, can't be upset, and so that's what it is. It affects your balance. Right now my balance is affected by about 30%, which isn't a whole lot, you know, dizziness here and there. Sometimes when you're laying down, the world spins around, or getting up from sitting to standing, stuff like that can, make me a little dizzy, but nothing too serious. So I'm not quite sure how that'll be affected afterwards, but for a little while it'll be affected until the right side of my brain can compensate for that. But I will have surgery on April 20th, which will be a retrosigmoid or a suboccipitable surgery, where they will go in and try to remove the tumor. If it is wrapped around the facial nerve, they may have to leave a portion of it so that they do not disrupt that nerve, which will affect the facial movement in my face. I'm not scared of the surgery. I'm a little nervous of the recovery and the side effects. I'm a little nervous about facial paralysis. Most people say there is some facial paralysis that is temporary, but I think that's probably the biggest thing. And then, strangely enough, I'm worried about being different after the surgery, like a different person. And there's no evidence, there's no science that this type of craniotomy would affect anything with my personality. So I have no idea why my thoughts go there, and I guess it's just because being in this situation, your brain goes to weird places, I guess. I have no idea. Unfortunately, the tinnitus will not go away, so I will forever have ringing in my ears that sometimes drives me nuts and makes me feel a little claustrophobic in my brain. But the doctors describe it as similar to the phantom syndrome that amputees might be going through, where they can still feel the limb that they lost. So in my brain, or people that have this, there are signals that are trying to be connected between the brain and the ear, and there's nowhere for them to go, which turns into the ringing. So we get to have ringing in the ears. I'll have no hearing on the outside of my ears on the left side, but I will still be hearing things in my brain. Just hopefully it won't be talking to me, right? Just kidding. So that's a little bit of my journey. Don't feel sad for me. Smile, joke with me. Maybe this is a